Welcome to Holy Week 2026, and thank you for joining with me these past 30 plus days. These days that we've spent time just reflecting on ourselves and letting Jesus into our lives. We're coming to the end and entering the final week and the final push to let Jesus in. And as we begin this Holy Week and this Palm Sunday, I'd like to reflect on a homily that I titled, A Heart That Is Surrendered to Jesus. And so, as always, I'll begin with a story. The story is told of a child who stood at the edge of a pool. His toes curled over the side, his arms tight, his heart is racing. In the water below, his father stretches out his arms and says, "Son, jump, I've got you." The child responded to his father, "What if you don't catch me? What if I sink? If I fall?" The father doesn't move. He just says to him again, "Son, trust me." And finally the child jumps. And of course, as expected, the father catches him. That's what we call surrender. Not because the child is strong, but because the father is. That is exactly what Palm Sunday is about. Jesus rides into Jerusalem, as we heard in the gospel before the beginning of Mass, knowing what waits for him. Riding to Jerusalem, he knew ahead of him, the next couple of days, the cross was waiting. And even with that knowledge, he still rode into Jerusalem. He went forward. He doesn't cling to safety like I will do, or to control like I will do. He doesn't turn back. He entrusts everything, like that child in the story I just shared, to his father. My favorite Christian writer, Max Lucado, I like to read his books, especially in the season of during Holy Week, reminds us that you can trust your life to the one who gave his life for you. You can trust your life to the one who gave his life for you. That's deep. But that's where our struggle lies, right? Oftentimes we stand like the child at the edge, holding tightly to control, just holding to the steering, like I always say, holding on to our plans, my plans. Oftentimes holding to our fears, our anxiety, our need for safety. And yet we want to follow Jesus. But we want to follow Jesus as long as we feel safe. And then comes that other voice that says, "Don't let go. You will fall. You can't trust God completely. He's failed you in the past. Look at all these bad things that happened to you before. Where was God?" But folks, Palm Sunday reveals the truth. Jesus lets go completely, even when it leads to suffering, even when it leads to the cross. And the Father does not abandon him. And he will not abandon you either. He will not abandon me. So I'd like to conclude this reflection by saying, as we enter Holy Week, the question is simple. Where are you still standing on the edge? Standing on the edge of the pool? What are you afraid to place in God's hands? Because like I've always said, and I'll continue to say, Lent ends not in giving things up, but in giving ourselves over to Jesus. And when we finally surrender, when we finally jump, like the boy in the story, we discover something unexpected. And what is that? That we are not falling, we are being held. Held by a loving Father who is strong and able to. And then we'll realize that that is where freedom begins. The freedom to love, the freedom to follow Jesus, freedom to walk with Jesus all the way to the cross and even beyond. Welcome to Holy Week.